Facebook. Yay, here we are live on Facebook. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2017 October CCO Certification Q&A webinar. We are happy that you're here. And along with me tonight is Lorene Yondrip, Alicia Scott, and Joanne Sheehan. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Boyd.
Hello.
Awesome to have you all here with us tonight. We're going to do a bunch of polls and we're going to go through some fun updates with everybody's doing here tonight. So if this is your first time, please know that you are welcome to be with us here tonight. And if you don't know what this is all about, well, it's a general webinar about all things medical business certification, medical coding, billing, and practice management related. And welcome once again to the CCO community. Know that we cannot hear you, but you can type a question in the question box and we will attempt to answer during the webinar, but it's darn not that easy, even though we got two people in the background. But we might be going to the questions maybe a little bit early tonight if we get through all of our questions. You never know. And of course, stay to the end for a free giveaway in CEUs, which a lot of people are here for tonight. So we're going to go over that here in a second. So Lorene, let's get started with this first poll. How many CCO webinars have you attended? This is something for everybody to go out and answer here for a second.
And while people are answering, I wanted to acknowledge Lori and Sylvia, who are helping us behind the scenes.
Awesome. Yes, thank you, ladies, for being with us. Could not do this webinar without the two of you. So is this your first time, your second to fifth time, your sixth to 12th time, your 13th to 18th time, or almost all of them? Where do you fit in? Let's see, what do we got? How many voted here?
All right, we got close to 85%, so I'm going to close it and show the results.
First time, 17%, 2 to 5, 32, 6 to 12, 25%, 13 to 18, 19%, and almost all of them 7%. So
pretty good looking bell curve.
Yeah. Welcome everybody. If this is your first time, we always like our first time.
Contact CCO, and we have a whole bunch of forms, and one of them is telling us that you passed the exam. So let's start with our CPCs. We've got Jennifer Canopy, Aurora Savaggio, Bertha Redden, Mercedes Calkins, and Lori Gorenflow. Sorry if I butchered any names, but you can see too the tools that they use from CCO. Some used our BAT method, our blitzes, a course, or just practice exams. There's many different tools. Ultimately, these are the hard workers, and they just use tools from us. So congratulations to them. Some more CPC passers. Can you see the screen, Joanne?
Yep.
You want to read this slide?
Stephanie Hill, Mary Altamari, Tamika Duncan, Melanie Jackson, and Michelle Weaver.
Very good.
Wow.
I think we have one more. So these are non-CPC exam passers. So Catherine Rose passed the CEMC. Althea Rogers passed her CRC. Michelle Fraser passed her CCS. And Whitney Holt passed her RHIT. So congratulations. And if anyone wants to share in the chat, if you've recently passed, please do. And I got a new one, yay! We went to the PAYCOM conference last week. That's why we had to push this webinar back a week. And the exam I took was the Certified Medical Manager, CMM. It's very similar to the PPM, the Physician Practice Manager credential that the AAPC has. But what I like about PAYCOM is this is really all they focus on. They are all about office management, medical office management. What a great group of people. Very small, intimate conference. Alicia and I had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun spending time together and splashing around in the ocean, but we learned a lot from the sessions as well. So here's some slides. This is me and Alicia at the awards dinner, so we got a little dressed up. Alicia was a knockout in her red dress, I have to say, taking selfies with everybody. And then here's our new booth. Oops, what did I do? There we go.
The booth was awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to
Beautiful.
appreciate in this smaller picture. I wanted to show a bigger one, but Jesus did this for us pretty quickly, like in a week's time, and so they shipped it to the hotel. And this one here was a real booger to put together, as Alicia said, but this one was kind of easy. But it was very nice. We had a lot of people come and learn about us, and so I think it was a good event. We'll definitely be going back. So if anyone is interested in office management, I would highly recommend joining this organization. And for those who are on the call tonight that are already a member, we do have a lot of Paycom folks joining our webinars because they are getting approved for Paycom CEUs as well. So welcome.
And I think Jesus said the Paycom CEU will be sent out about an hour after after this one tonight.
Yes, so that's an automatic process. It'll be sent via email. So very good. Remember, Alicia, you only get 100 words tonight. Save them.
I'm muting myself.
All right, so the first person to do one of the prepared questions, I think we're going to have Joanne do her 3, and then we'll have some little intermissions in between, and then I'll do my 2, and then we'll do the open Q&A. So, all right.
Okay, so the first question was, with the new descriptions of the flu shot, what is the best way to choose the flu injections based on only the 0.25 milliliter or the 0.5 milliliter? I actually thought this question was interesting because as a coder and biller, I mean, you really have to know what the product is that the doctor is giving the patient. So first I wanted to just briefly go over what influenza is, and it's a serious disease that can lead to hospitalization and sometimes even death. Okay. And we have to, I'm used to controlling the things. Okay. And the flu vaccines cause antibodies to develop in the body about 2 weeks after vaccination. And these antibodies provide protection against infection with the viruses that are in the vaccines. And the seasonal flu vaccine protects against the influenza viruses that research indicates will be most common during the upcoming season. Okay, so move up the slide or some more. And just to explain a few of the flu vaccines and how it'll pertain to the question. The traditional flu vaccines are referred to as trivalent vaccines, and they're made to protect 3 flu viruses: the influenza A, the H1N1, influenza A, H3N2, and the influenza B virus. There are also flu vaccines made to protect against 4 flu viruses called the quadrivalent, which I see more of when I look at doctors' notes. And these vaccines protect the same as above, plus an additional B virus. Now, I've read numerous places, and I don't have a reason why, the Center for Disease Control is saying that the nasal spray flu vaccine cannot be used for this year. I researched and could not find a reason why, but the previous year we were able to bill, code for that. And both the trivalent, which is the 3-compound, and the quadrivalent 4-compound are available for the 2017-18 season. Now the trivalent flu vaccines, we have the high-dose trivalent shot, which is approved for people 65 and older. And then we have a recombinant trivalent shot that's egg-free, approved for people 18 years and older, including pregnant women. And that's why one of the things that I noticed among primary care physicians is they're just choosing random flu shots when they're, checking off encounter forms. And like the question that the coder asked about the dosage, well, only the physician's going to know if you're allergic to eggs or whatever, and the type of vaccine that you should be getting, or if the patient's over 65. That's not up to the coder ability to decide. The new code, a trivalent shot made with adjuvant, which is an ingredient of a vaccine that helps create a stronger immune system. That's for 65 and older. And then the quadrivalent flu shots that are approved for use in different age groups include children as young as 6 months. We have the intradermal shot injected into the skin instead of the muscle using a smaller needle, and that's for ages 18 through 64. The quadrivalent flu shot containing the virus grown in a cell culture, approved for people 4 years and older, and then the recombinant quadrivalent flu shot for 18 and older, including pregnant women. And the recommendations for the flu shot is everyone 6 months and older with either the inactivated flu vaccine or the recombinant, or different flu vaccines are approved for use in different groups of people. Okay, and we move up again. This is so hard. And the factors in giving the flu shot are the person's age, their health, current and past, allergies to flu vaccines, or its components. And I can give an example in terms of health. When my dad, before he died, he had Parkinson's, and he, under no circumstances, was allowed to get the flu shot because he got so deathly ill that it could have killed him, because the muscles and everything in him at the point when they were giving it to him, he wouldn't have been able to handle it. So the doctors know the type of flu shot that they can give. So when the question asked, about the milliliters, I was like, it's way more than just that. And the reason is, when we look under the correct dose, the inactivated injectable vaccine is based on the age. And for kids 6 to 35 months of age, for example, the correct dose is, it can either be 0.25 milliliter for the manufacturer Fluzone quadrivalent. Yet, the same type of inactivated injectable vaccine, flu level, or however you say, or quadrivalent, comes in a 0.5 milliliter. So it's not up to you to decide. It's up to the doctor or the provider, the doctor or the nurse practitioner, whoever is giving it. You just can't guess. The 3 years and older, the correct dose is typically the 0.5 milliliters for all the inactivated flu vaccines. And if an adult needs the 0.5 milliliter and the doctors run out, he can use 2 manufacturer-filled syringes with the 0.25 for anyone 3 years or older to give it. But really, when you go into your CPT and you look at the descriptions of all of these vaccines, which are preservative-free for over 65, everything, there's a lot more to choosing the code than just the milliliters. So I couldn't answer your question specifically. So in summary, the influenza vaccines are delivered to the physician's office with the manufacturer's name, the trade name, the dosage, the mercury content, and the age group. And the coder should not choose the flu vaccine code based on dosage. That is the provider's responsibility. And there are many, many options to choose from. And what I recommend is matching the invoice. It'll give you the national drug code and how, the milliliters and so forth. And this is an example that you can get online of the breakdown of the manufacturer's trade name and how the doses come in. And it's interesting because they're saying no nasal spray, but at the same time, it's still listed here for 2017-18. It's just certain, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, is saying not to give it. And you even get to see the CPT codes, and everything for the drugs itself. And I'm just amazed how the doctors just pick and choose anyone they want, and they're very, very specific. So your responsibility as a coder would at least look at the invoice and see what products they're using, but you can't guess at the milliliters or anything like that. And that's pretty much it for the vaccine.
All right, let me just see if we got any questions related to that. Wendy sharing, use your NDC to find the right codes on vaccines.
Yes, if you get your invoice, and let's say it was the Fluzone, you would see the invoice and it would say how many syringes or vials and what milliliters it's coming in. And on that invoice will be the national drug code that when you enter it into your practice management software, it has to be linked to any drugs, because it has to, whether it's on paper or electronically, if you don't include that. This sheet does not show you the NDC. You can look it up specifically off of this sheet, and you can get it right off of the website. Look under Federal Drug Administration, Google national drug codes, or whatever, and it will give you the NDC. But usually if you're coding from the practice, you want to work off of the invoices and the product that they're actually giving to the patients. And then you'll know specifically, what the milliliters are. But be careful, because doctors are using codes for people over 65, and the person getting the shot is, 30, and that's going to kick out. It'll deny. So it's based on much more than just the milliliters. There's a lot to it. And it's not something you want to be careless about, because those things do get audited, and you do report them at the end of the year all your vaccinations that you give. So you want to make sure you're accurate with that.
All right, thank you. Let's see what we have next. I think we have a poll. Okay, so we're going to find out how, let's see, are you certified currently? So let us know, yes, not yet, or are you working on additional certifications? We like to get a feel for who's out in the audience there. And we also like to keep you engaged. And while we're doing that, Rebecca is sharing that if you're using Fluzone, Sanofi Pasteur has a great webinar on their website. Thanks for sharing that, Rebecca.
Yeah, pretty much any of those manufacturers have the CPT codes and the administration codes and all the information that you need if you don't have the copy of the invoice showing what the practice is using. They really are wonderful. The internet is just full of information.
All right, so we have 72% said yes, 11% not yet, and 17% working on additional certifications. All right, thank you. All right, next question is Joanne.
Okay, this was another kind of tough question to answer, and it's funny how much you take for granted when you use these codes all the time and for years to explain it in simple terms. The question was, I need clarification on CPT drug administration codes. Are they coded for how the injections are given? And the answer, well, yes, it is. What I recommend, if you're really new at learning how to code for the different medications, I always say, first go to the HCPCS Level 2 manual and look under the table of drugs. Not all the drugs are not all the drugs that are given are in the HCPCS Level 2 manual. A lot of them are in the CPT, but I'm a visual learner, so from the HCPCS Level 2 manual, you can go to the table of drugs and you learn how the various drugs are administered. And you can understand how specific drugs are given in order to look it up, whether it's in CPT or HCPCS Level 2 drug administration codes. So at the beginning of the table, you see these abbreviations, and you'll see like IA, which means intra-arterial, into the arteries, IV, intravenous, IM, intramuscular, into the muscles, IT, intrathecal cerebrospinal fluids, SC is subcutaneous, which is under the skin. Okay, there's, we have to slide that up a little more. Okay, and then we have the INH, which is the administration by inhaled solution, the VAR, various routes of administration, other routes of administration, and oral. So they explain what these abbreviations mean so that you have that visual. And on the next slide, you'll see just a couple of examples of like the explanation. When they refer to intravenous administration, it means all methods such as gravity infusion, injections, and timed pushes. The VAR can denote drugs that are commonly administered into joints, cavities, tissues, or topical applications, in addition to other parenteral administrations. Other could mean suppositories or a catheter injection. And under the title examples, I just picked a couple from the drug table so that you can see, like, I'm going to mispronounce it, I know, dronabinol, oral 2.5 milligrams, it tells you oral, and then it gives you the HCPCS code. Heparin sodium, 1,000 units, and it's IV or subcutaneous with HCPCS. Gamma globulin, 1 cc intramuscular, and iloprost, 20 micrograms inhaled, in the codes. And that tells you that if you're taking that drug, then you know what to look for when you're in the CPT manual. And for an example, the Dextran 40 comes in 500 milliliters, and it's through IV, and it gives you the J7100 is the HCPCS. And this is a non-protein colloid, and dextran 40 works in the body of a patient to replace fluids, and a provider can also use it as an anticoagulant. I'm going to use my example as replacing fluids. And routes of administration include intravenous injection, which is an injection or instillation of liquid through a needle into a vein of the patient. So when you go into your CPT manual, you want to look for intravenous infusion because the description is an intravenous. And I just use the 96360 hydration because it is replacing fluids, and that's what hydration is, 31 minutes to 1 hour. And then you have each additional, I don't know if it's hour or half hour, I forget, but it's like 96361. And then you would use the J7100 infusion dextran 40, 500 milliliters. And I'm trying to focus more on the administration, but just so that you understand, depending on how much is given to the patient, if they're given 1,000 milliliters, you would have to do like J7100, 2 units, okay? But I'm just throwing that out there because we're more focused on the administration right now. And the other example I gave, which is simpler, is insulin. 5 units, subcutaneous, and the code is J1815. And a subcutaneous is 96372. And it can be therapeutic, prophylactic, or diagnostic injection. And you specify the substance of the drug, and it can be given subcutaneously or intramuscularly. And in this case, it's given subcutaneously because you see the SC associated with it. And then the J1815 injection of insulin per 5 units. So that one injection is 5 units, but the SC is telling you to go in a CPT and look under the injections and look for the subcutaneous or intramuscular, description. So if you understand the codes that way, it'll help you better. Now, some of the drugs are not in your HCPCS manual, they're in your CPT manual. So you want to go to the medicine section and read the guidelines. And the first section would be 90281 through 90756. And these are the CPT codes that cover all the products with descriptions, such as, say, diphtheria, antitoxin, equine, any route, all right? So there's a listing of immunization administration codes in this area as well for the vaccines and toxoids with explanations. A complete list of the vaccines and toxoids with method of administration are there, and it's spelling it out for you. It'll say for oral use, for intramuscular, it will tell you. And then you have to look up, and there aren't that many administration codes for the injections, so you just have to look it up and know. The other section, which is a little bit more involved, has to do with the medicine section as well, and it's the CPT codes 96360 through 96549, and those cover the hydration, infusions, and diagnostic injections, and more. And my example here for a couple of these would be, say the doctor was giving the adenovirus vaccine type 4 live, and the description is for oral use. So when you look that up, you'll see that 90476 is oral use. And then when you look up the administration codes, it says 90473 by intranasal or oral route, 1 vaccine, which the adenovirus is 1 vaccine, but it could also be a combination vaccine. But in this case, it's just the one. And that's it. So it's telling you in the description of the drug, whether it's HCPCS or it's CPT, how it's administered. And then you just have to familiarize yourself with a handful of codes and follow the guidelines, especially with the intravenous and the hydration and all of that. So just know the type of drug that's being administered. They're both listed in HCPCS level 2 and CPT. Read how it's administered and follow the guidelines in the CPT for the administration. You should have no problem with choosing the proper administration codes if you follow the guidelines and read how that particular drug is administered. And so that's basically that. And that's perfect. That's a nice example of what it looks like in the HCPCS manual, how you just see the breakdown.
Yeah, this is a table of drugs.
Some of these words are hard to pronounce. So
all the HCPCS manufacturers, they all have their own way of presenting it. But this is from, the table of drugs in HCPCS, and you can see the drug name. And you might want to mention something about brand name versus generic.
Yes, usually if there's another section in the book as well, so that if you look up one of the drugs, it will break it down. And I'm trying to think, like Ativan is a drug that's given for people with anxiety, but when you look it up, it will say in the HCPCS manual, maybe it'll say lorazepam. So they have cross references to that as well. It's not in the table of drugs. There's another area that you look up that's alphabetical.
Just in the index. Yeah,
Yeah.
the regular index.
Exactly.
So
So
there's two ways you can look it up, the regular index or the table of drugs. And
right.
if you're not having success with one, try the other.
And okay, and you have to know this obviously for your CPC exam or your CPB exam or whatever. But once you are certified, if you have a tough time, just Google the name brand and it'll give you all the information you need and how it's administered as well as the NDC codes. And that's so important that you make sure that you get those NDC codes, or your doctor will not get reimbursed for any of this without it, because it's required on the claim forms.
Now, Lisa's asking, I thought that when a drug was administered by IV, you would use 96374, not 96360.
Okay, the one that I gave as an example is hydration, because it was giving fluid into the body, and that's where it really gets involved. What type of medication is being administered, and then that's the code that you would use. Like it might be the 96374. So it really, Find a Code is amazing. It tells you everything that you need to know. I was more focused on something simpler, with the hydration, but
do a little side by side here.
yeah.
All right, so 374
is the therapeutic, prophylactic, or diagnostic injection, intravenous push. And that's saying this intravenous push, where the 96360 is intravenous infusion for hydration. And that's what I was using as an example, because that particular drug that I used as an example was for fluid. It was to
right. So normally when a drug's administered via IV, you would use the 374, but in this case, if it's infusion for the purpose of hydration, there's an even more specific code.
There are so many guidelines for this. That's why you really need to know your guidelines. When you're bubbling, highlighting, and doing all that, make sure you really understand it. If you have questions, that have to do with that, because it can get confusing without question. So you have to really.
When I was teaching myself this, when I was getting ready to take my CPC exam, I'm like, okay, you need two codes, stick and stuff. That was what I finally started to remember, that one code is for getting the product in you and the other is for the actual product. So stick and stuff always helped me to remember you needed those two pieces and they needed to match. So if one was oral, then the other one should be oral. So it's IV, then the other one should be IV. So
exactly.
Very good. Thank you.
You take it for granted when you do it so often, and try to explain it to someone that may not be as experienced. It's hard sometimes.
I thought of a point. If I was going to write a test question, these would be perfect codes to do it. So so if you're testing.
Hint, hint, hint.
Okay.
All right. Our next poll is, how did you discover CCO.us for the first time? This is a new poll. Thank you, Boyd. Let's see. Or on the chat, I did the poll, right? Okay, good. I want to make sure it was shown right. This is going to be a very interesting one. I'm so excited, a new poll. %. righty. Here we go. There we go. Let's share the results. Dun, dun, dun.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. I knew it had to be referrals because I talk to a lot of the people, I know Alicia does too, that are considering us. How'd you hear about us? And that's what they tell us. Their friend took our course, or they heard good things on social media. So that's how we've grown. Great.
Oh,
Instagram. Wow. And you know, when I went to do that, I said, I don't know if Instagram's the way to go, but hey, we tried everything, you know, get the word out. So we really do appreciate for our existing members and, you know, the folks on the webinar tonight. If you share in social media, people do find us. We do appreciate that. That's how we're able to keep adding more subject matter experts to our team and answering more and more of your questions. So please continue to do that. We really appreciate it. Huge. Wow. And Boyd has produced every single one of those videos. And 99%. Is this the one channel or the old channel too? Wow. So we had a channel prior to this that YouTube didn't let us easily move things over, so we had to start a fresh channel. So if they were combined, wow. So that's awesome. 876 videos. Very cool. So like Alicia's screaming in her head right now. I can read her mind. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. And what's really cool about that, even if you're connected with us on Facebook or other ways, when you use the YouTube subscribe function, the minute the video goes out, or now our live events, you'll get a reminder. 9 times out of 10, that's how I'm reminded of our own events. When I'm not a speaker, I know when our team's doing something because I get it on my YouTube thing. So very cool. Yeah.
That's a lot.
All right, Joanne, one more for you, the new Medicare card.
A new Medicare card. This was supposed to be Alicia's presentation, but she has no voice, so I'll do my best, but she learned a whole lot at that PayCom conference, so hopefully, you know, I'll be able to do as good a job as she would have. Medicare has made some major changes in the new Medicare card, and let's go over what you need to know. And this is a brief overview. Strongly recommend that you go to the cms.gov website to really learn about it. So why is the card changing? The most important reason it's changing is it's fighting medical identity theft for people in Medicare. The Medicare Access and Chip Reauthorization Act, MACRA, of 2015 requires the removal of the Social Security numbers from all the Medicare cards by April of 2019. And a new Medicare beneficiary identifier, which we'll refer to as MBI, will replace the Social Security number-based health insurance claim number, which we're familiar with, HICN, on the new Medicare cards for Medicare transactions, like for billing, eligibility status, and claim status. So it really comes down to identity theft. And I was wondering when they were going to come around to doing it, since everybody else has been doing it. CMS currently uses the Social Security number-based, health insurance claim number to identify people with Medicare and administer the program. And they have used the HICN with their business partners, the Social Security Administration, the United States Railroad Retirement Board, state Medicaid agencies, healthcare providers, and health plans. And under the new system, for each person enrolled in Medicare, CMS will assign a new Medicare beneficiary identifier They will be mailing a new Medicare card, and the MBI is confidential like the Social Security number and should be protected as personally identifiable information. So now when you look at your current Medicare card, you'll see the primary beneficiary account holder's Social Security number, plus the beneficiary identification code. So basically it's the Social Security number with like a letter after it. So in the key positions, you know, it's 1 to 9 are numeric, and then you have one letter or a letter and a number and so forth. And then the example here would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9A. That would be the primary beneficiary with Medicare. And let's say that you were a spouse who didn't work, you would use your husband's Social Security number, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, with the letter B, so to identify. So if you were working and you would have your own number, but there are so many letters, it could be like for dependents and for disabled, or just multiple letters at the end. But the new MBI has new non-intelligent unique identifier 11 bytes. It's like, huh? It's
Wait,
like,
our government having something non-intelligent?
Really?
Sorry, couldn't help myself.
But the key positions are 2, 5, 8, and 9 will always be alphabetic. So if you look down at this example, we look at the way our Social Security number is now, and it's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And in this case, it's A1. And then the new MBI. And so 1E is the second position. And then this 1EG4, it's very different looking, very, very different looking. And these identifiers are fictitious in the dashes for display purposes only. They are not stored in the database nor used in file formats. So, but that's the difference. It's going to be so hard to really, I'm so spoiled having the Social Security number. It's going to be hard because a lot of times you don't get good information from the front desk. So you always had the Medicare number. If it ended in an A, you knew that was the social and so forth. But there is a very definite timeline. January 2018, we'll be activating the MBI generator and translation services. And then from April 1, 2018 through December 31st, 2019, we will transition. And then during this transitional period, you can use either the old number or the new number. And January 2020, only the MBIs on claims will be accepted with few exceptions.
That's a long transition period.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful because I can just imagine. And this is the timeline, a visual timeline that Alicia presented, where it just shows you, you know, the January 18th, and then the block of time, you know, where they'll accept both the HICN and the MBI, and then the January 2020, where you can no longer use it except for some limited exceptions. And I have listed those. The first bunch of exceptions is Medicare plan exceptions. And that would have to do with appeals, where you can use either the HICN or the MBI for claims appeals and related forms, which makes sense because if you're appealing something during a time period where you use the old number, obviously you can't switch it out. You have to appeal the claim with the old number. Or any adjustments, you can use the HICN indefinitely for some systems, such as drug data processing, risk adjustment processing, and encounter data, and for all records, not just adjustments. And then for some reports, we'll use the HICN on these reports until further notice. And it's incoming to Medicare, quality reporting, disproportionate share hospital data requests, and so forth. And then outgoing from Medicare, provider statistical and reimbursement reports, accountable care organization reports, and so forth. So it's going to be a slow process before we're really there. And I only cited a couple examples for the fee-for-service. There are a couple more. One is appeals, where, again, you can either use the HICN or the MBI for the claims appeals and the related forms. So if you get a denial, you know, for something December 2019, in January 2020, you obviously have to use the old number in 2020. And the same with the claim status query. If you are looking up something that was done during the time period and you use the old number, you would be able, that's an exception as well. You have to use that old number to query, see if the claim is pending or paid, and so forth. There are ways that you can learn more. You can participate in the open door forums, which is all advertised through CMS, and they're presented by CMS, and they will be letting you know when the calls are scheduled in MLN Connect's providers. And it's really important. If you haven't subscribed to that, they come through the email and they give you notifications. I strongly recommend you signing up for it. And here it is right here, all the information, the new card and whatnot. There's no gender on this and so forth.
Guard your card.
Yeah. Seriously, I'm dealing with identity theft and it's not fun and it takes forever to clear. So it's really guard the card. You will be able to access the health plan management system for technical information related to the plans. And this is all web-based. And I presented a list here. It's fairly extensive, but it supports the following business processes for all private health and drug plans. And it's everything from contract of plan enumeration and management, formulary submission, marketing material, fiscal soundness, compliance, tracking, financial plan bid, and plan data reporting audits. It's just everything operational.
Yeah.
Data. It's research and evaluation. It's quite extensive. And I think Alicia also had here another link where you could submit any additional comments or questions to the team, because it is going to be a learning curve. And of course, all the information you want to know. And there's a lot. If I could be on here for an hour and a half going through everything, this is just really an overview. Go on to the cms.gov website and read about it and sign up for MLN, because it really, you'll get the emails and you'll be up to date with everything. So
I like Sally's suggestion to laminate them.
Yeah.
I got one thing to add.
You go ahead.
When at Paycom, they made a point to say, no one's going to know when the patients are going to start getting their cards. They're not telling you. And that is also to protect the identity. So that makes everybody kind of panicked, because the patients are going to call you and say, George got his card last week. I haven't gotten mine. Or so-and-so's had his for 3 months. I haven't gotten mine. Is there a problem? And that's addressed on the website, but they said they are not notifying you when the cards are going out to protect the cards because of theft.
Absolutely.
They already recognize it's going to be a problem. So
I forgot you told me that. That's really important too, because I'm sure those patients are going to be calling.
Yeah.
So yeah, like she said, get on that list and let them start giving you the updates and everything, because even if you call, they're not going to tell you that the cards are being mailed out to so-and-so or sections or what areas first. It'll be random.
That's wonderful.
All right, cool.
Important.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Very timely. Okay, so this slide is to talk about our beta sale. We extended it because we realized we didn't time it so that our attendees of this webinar would hear about it. So basically what we're doing is this. We have a content platform that we've used for over 5 years. That's very solid. We love it. But it doesn't allow for conversation right underneath where the content is presented. So we've used separate platforms, Google Groups and currently Podio, for doing support. But they're kind of separate. So we want to try out a couple platforms to see what our students like the best. So what we thought is we were going to ask for a bunch of beta testers. Thought, well, why don't we give them a discount, and then they can, sign up for the course, start in our current system, and then when we roll out the new ones, we can have them try it for that discount. So that's what this is all about. It doesn't take a lot of time. Basically, it might take all of 20 minutes for you to go in and test things out and give us your feedback. But you can go ahead and start on the course at any time in the current platform. So that special, that 25% off, ends tomorrow night at midnight, okay? So if you just go to cco.us beta sale, or just go to cco.us, you'll see the banner ad up on the top. And this shows you all the different courses that we're offering discounts on. So the PBC course, which normally sells for $1537, is reduced to $1152. The facility-based course is reduced. This whole list is reduced. And not only are the full courses, but we also are offering for our review blitzes, because we also present those in our learning platform. So this is a good time to get in if you're on the fence or you're waiting. They're really, really good prices. You get all the same stuff and probably more, because you're going to get access to the new system as well. And I was talking to someone today, she goes, well, what if I don't like the new system? I said, then you can stay in the old one, or you could switch over. So you'll have that option, kind of like the Medicare card thing. There's going to be a little time period where we'll be dealing with both. So at any rate, we'd love to have you as a beta tester. It's a great opportunity to get a pretty deep discount. And if you have any questions before tomorrow midnight, reach out to us at the help desk. But it's all pretty explanatory. It's just a discount for you to give us a little bit of time. And here's this little FAQ here. What is a beta tester? And it's someone that helps us test out a new tech platform by navigating around, clicking, finding bugs or problems, and letting us know. So it's really not going to be that difficult to do. We should have it ready in the next couple of months. Alicia and I are kind of pushing to get it sooner rather than later, but we want to make sure it's all ready. So we might just do one group of students first, one blitz group next, and kind of roll it out that way and get their feedback, make tweaks, and then go to the next group. So at any rate, I wanted to let you know about that. Let me see if there's any questions. What if you want to be a beta tester, but there's no way to take another class right now? Can you just be a beta tester? So we're hoping to have customers, students that purchase the course that are going to test both. If you want to be a Blitz customer, you can do that, and that's probably the more economical way to get in. So, all right, thank you. And of course, you can start anytime. So if you want to get the deal now and start your course in January, that's totally fine, because you get 9 months with our courses. And if you need longer, for $19.95 as a club member, that's all you need to do to continue. You get access to any course you've ever purchased from us indefinitely. As long as we're still offering it, all the updates, everything, as long as you maintain your club membership, that $19.95 a month, you've got access to all your club content and your course content. Okay, we got another poll. What AAPC credential do you have currently? For those that have a credential, let us know what one you currently have, and we'll make sure that all the CEU classes and stuff that we're preparing are fitting what our audience is made up of. So the CPC and CCSP, anything that's a physician-based credential, you could check that box. The COC, CIC, and CCS, those are our facility-based credentials. CPMA is for our auditors, CRC is for our risk adjustment coders, and then do you have multiple or other credentials not listed here? We only get 5 slots, so that's the best way we could do to group them. And I saw a question in the chat, do you get 9 months with the Blitz? Yes, that's how long you get with that. All right, I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So 76% physician-based, that's not a surprise to us, 9% facility, 2% auditing, 5% risk adjusting. That's definitely growing, and 19% have multiple credentials or something not listed. So very good, thanks for sharing. And here's a few testimonials Boyd likes to put up. We have Monica share that she passed her exam. Your system works fantastic. Thank you. I'll be back soon to take the auditor course. Yay. And Michelle said, I passed the CRC and couldn't be happier. Once again, you guys have the right content and exam prep material. So thank you guys so much. And anyone that wants to share, just go to cco.us/testimonials. We would greatly appreciate it. That page is growing. And a lot of people use that. Nowadays, there's so many kind of scams out there, so it's good for prospective students that have been referred to us to have that place to go see all the comments and get that kind of warm fuzzy that they're making the right choice. All right, looks like. We do. Okay, next question is for me. And actually, Alicia wrote up this question, but I will be presenting it in her place. So ICD-10 coding for a diabetes follow-up case. The question was, a man with type 2 diabetes mellitus was admitted to the hospital in diabetic coma over a month ago. He now comes to the clinic for the follow-up of his diabetic condition, nephrotic syndrome, and gangrene of several toes. What's the ICD-10 code for the scenario? So let's see what we have here. So the first thing we want to do is code the nephrotic syndrome, because we're really looking at two things. We've got this nephrotic syndrome and gangrene, and they're also a diabetic patient. So nephrotic syndrome, my niece has this. It's a kidney disorder, and it causes your body to excrete too much protein in the urine, another condition that they use prednisone for. So when you go to the index and you go to syndrome, and then you look up nephrotic congenital, it's going to point you to this NO4.9, but there's a note underneath that says, with diabetes, see diabetes and then nephrosis. So that's what we're supposed to do as good coders, follow what the index tells us to do. So then we go and we look up diabetes and we find with kidney complication. I was a little frustrated that it said see diabetes nephrosis and it didn't have an indented term for nephrosis. And I'm just gonna pause here. You see these funny little characters showing up, anonymous lemur, anonymous. So what people are doing is they're reading the URL and they're typing it in and they're trying to get the document. These documents are for the CCO club members. We show it on the Q&A webinar, but if you want access to all of these documents, just join the club for the $19.95 a month. You get all the handouts to every webinar, not just the monthly Q&A ones. We do, I think, 2 to 3 a month. Joanne does a lot of those for our club Q&As. We do student Q&As. We've got one-off type topics that we do. So that's the best thing to do, and you get everything and a full transcript of every word that we said, which is really good. Okay. So following our instructions from the index, we are led to E11.29, which is type 2 diabetes mellitus with other diabetic kidney complications. All right. So that's how we ended up there. And here's a little more taken from Find a Code, how that stacks up. We go in the endocrine system, then the categories range E08 to E13, which is the diabetes mellitus range of codes. Then we're looking for type 2, which is E11, and then we pick 0.5 because it's with a complication. Now, for the gangrene, initially, when we go to the index, we might consider the I-96. But again, as a good coder, we go and we look at all of the excludes notes surrounding the code. This is gangrene, not elsewhere classified. And we look at some of the excludes, and here's one that Alicia highlighted. There's an excludes too, gangrene in diabetes mellitus. And ICD is normally very helpful. If it's on the excludes list, they're basically saying, you don't want to use this, go here instead. They normally give you the code or the code range to go check out to find what you're looking for. So sure enough, they said, look at the E08 to E13 range. So we are not going to use the I-96 because the patient has diabetes with it. And just as a reminder, because of the new guidelines, as of last year, we no longer need to see the word with in the physician's documentation in order to code that causal relationship. It's now assumed. So that's pretty neat. So therefore, we're going to end up going to this E11.52, type 2 diabetes with diabetic peripheral angiopathy with gangrene. Okay, so that's how we're going to get those two codes. And then, of course, Alicia, being the risk adjustment coder that she is, one of the reasons it's important to get it right, because, you know, you could take a step back and say, well, if I use the other codes, I'm still telling the story that they've got nephrotic syndrome and they've got gangrene, and then I'll use another code for diabetes. But for certain inpatient coding and risk adjustment coding, diagnoses affect the reimbursement, the money. Whereas like maybe in traditional physician and outpatient billing situations, diagnoses more or less support why you did procedures. Things are shifting in our industry. Diagnoses are really becoming more and more important than they ever were in the physician and outpatient world. So here's gangrene not elsewhere classified. So this is the non-diabetes version, and you can see the different HCC codes. And HCCs, for those that don't know, is like a grouper. If you're familiar with DRGs, it's very similar to that. It's the, you know, certain diagnoses go in certain buckets, and these are HCC buckets that's used by Medicare. Hierarchical condition coding, category code, something like that, but they're categories. And then other payers have similar groupings, but it's about chronic conditions that the patient's dealing with. So this one, you'll see the numbers are 106 and 153. That's the HCC code. But if you're coding the diabetes with gangrene, the codes are different. It's going to be either 18, 30, or 20. Now, this one will actually have a higher value in the risk adjustment world. It's a more chronic condition than just the gangrene. And that's why that's important to get it right. And then for a nephrotic syndrome, if you just coded the nephrotic syndrome without the diabetes, it would be bucket 141, if you will, HCC 141. But if you code it correctly with the kidney complication, it's going to be 18, 30, or 20. Again, higher risk adjustment categories, which affect reimbursement, et cetera. Okay. Oh, and Alicia gave us this little extra here. This is a copy and paste from the guidelines on how we are to use the word with now in ICD-10. So we thought that would be good to review that again. We covered it before, but it's such a big shift that it's important to emphasize. The word with or in should be interpreted to mean associated with or due to when it appears in a code, title, or the alpha index, or an instructional note. The classification presumes a causal relationship. Hang on one second. I think I'm catching Alicia's laryngitis.
Oh, no.
So, I know, right? So highlighted, these conditions should be coded as related even in the absence of provider documentation explicitly linking them. So that's pretty cool. Unless the documentation clearly states that the conditions are unrelated. So kind of flipping things around a little bit. So study that guideline. This is very important. It's it's still fairly fresh for a lot of people. And it's still there for 2018 as well. How did I do, Alicia? Did I miss anything important?
Scroll back up to the HCCs. I want to point out something.
Okay.
The anything that is federally funded, whether it be CMS or HHS, meaning all of Medicare, all of Medicaid, and the commercial insurances are covered under one or the other. So everything risk adjusts more or less. Now, if you go back down to the kidneys, and you notice that the condition with the kidneys, nephritis only carries a CMS HCC and an end-stage renal disease. That means it does not risk adjust for HHS, which is Medicaid and commercial insurances that are federally funded. So if you miss it, then that money will not be collected for your provider, but it would have been if you had collected the diabetes and everything. That's why it's so important. And you think that it doesn't add up. it not only if you don't collect them correctly, then when they come in and audit you and they see that you've missed that, you've shorted them money and yourself, and they will audit you, again and again. So that's just another reason why it's so important to make sure that you're complying with the guidelines of getting those done correctly. It's incredibly fascinating. Okay, my 100 words are up.
Yeah, a while ago. But no, thank you for pushing yourself to give us that added information. And Cindy was asking, do we do HCC training course? Yes, we do. We have a risk adjustment course. We call it the RA course. And when we started to do it many years ago, when Alicia recommended, Alicia has worked for Optum and she's done risk adjustment coding, and she said, this is growing. We need to do a course for this. And she was right. And we were referring to it as the HCC course, but it's really risk adjustment because HCC is one of the group. It's the most popular one, the one that led the charge, so to speak. But definitely check that out, and it is on sale for that 25% off. All right, so thank you for that. So this slide, we wanted to talk a little bit about our CCO club. The club is something that it's been actually a year next month that we've launched this new CCO club. We always had a replay club of replays of this very webinar that you're attending tonight. We've been doing this webinar for, I think, over 5 years now, and recording it and making the recordings available to the club members. So we greatly expanded our club concept. You can find out more about it by going to cco.us/club, but to give you the highlights, we are all about content and getting subject matter experts together to produce content like this, break it up into smaller nuggets of information. So if all you wanted to learn about down the road was diabetes, you could type that in and watch just the video section we just did on diabetes and all the other ones. So kind of group that together and study it, by topic. So now we have over 92 CEU items in the club available that you could go watch the little video clip, follow along with the nice, beautiful transcripts that our transcription team does. You can look at the handouts if you want to print that out and write notes. Then at the end, you take a quiz. And the quiz has already been pre-approved by the AAPC. And if you pass that quiz, then you will get a certificate right on the spot that you can download, similar to the one that you would get for tonight. If you choose to get a CEU certificate, you put in your name, it'll give the date, it'll give all the index info, the amount that it's worth, and it's very simple to go and do that. That's just one aspect of the club is the CEUs. The other is that you have access to all of us, to all of the subject matter experts at CCO and fellow members. We've got incredible members that they get there quicker than us, and they answer questions very thoroughly. Might have to hire a few of them. Then we've got any course that you've ever taken with us, as long as you remain a club member, you get access to the course content indefinitely, which is kind of nice. So when you're typically our courses and blitzes are 9 months access. If you want more, some people like knowing that they have that forever in their little virtual library with us. So just stay a club member, stay plugged in with us. It's worth it. You can ask questions. We get a lot of people asking questions that are affecting them on the job. They're like, okay, I need help coding this. All we ask is that you let us know your train of thought, because we don't want to do your job for you. But if you say, I got this case, I'm really challenged by it, this is where I'm going with it because I looked this up in the index, tell us the story so we can come in and help use that as a teachable moment and say, okay, I see where you're going with that. It's very common, but this is how you want to think about it. And that helps us to, make it a valuable answer. We are doing case studies. If you have any full cases that you want us to code, you can submit it, and we're putting that together, oftentimes with nice, video answers that you can refer to. I think that's all the biggies. And then we've got, the basic one is everything that I just mentioned for $19.95. If you want to add Find a Code, you could add the Find a Code Essentials and Professional level to that package at a very low price, and our find a code version is all annotated by CCO. You saw me use it a couple of times. You'll see here, see the BAT reference, that's our BAT reference. So we include any notes that our subject matter experts have deemed important, and you can have access to it in addition to adding your own notes down here where it says My Notes. Okay, so that's a very nice value add. I think I did I forget anything important, Boyd? That's all the highlights. Okay, so check that out. The page is very long because there's that many benefits for $20 a month. I don't think anyone can beat that. All right, another question by moi. This was one that was written by someone who's preparing for the CPC exam. We were discussing separate procedures in our support area, and she said, you know, regarding those separate procedures, how should we watch for it on the CPC exam? Should I be real worried about that? So I thought this would be a good one to do a nice little review of. And really, the bottom line is, don't be scared by separate procedures. It's nothing that they're going to really trip you up on the exam, but they could be a nice little helper for you. So this is from the NCCI manual. That's the Correct Coding Initiative, where they are letting us know what codes they consider bundled into each other. Okay, so they said a separate procedure should not be reported when performed along with another procedure that's in an anatomically related region through the same skin incision or orifice or surgical approach. And they will give you the code and let you know if it's a column 2 code that would be designated as a separate procedure. So in CCI, what that means, they have 2 columns, and I'll show you an example using find a code in a second, and it'll be a little bit more clear. But sometimes when we see that phrase separate procedure, it's like, oh, it seems like it makes that code almost seem like it's special and should be allowed to be billed separate, when in fact they're actually saying the opposite, like, be careful, I'm a separate procedure, so that, you know, if there's a bigger procedure or more comprehensive procedure you're reporting for the same operative session, chances are I'm bundled into it. So be careful and check it out. That's really what it's saying. But if it's the only thing that was done and it says separate procedure in parentheses, then that's okay to go ahead and report it. Otherwise, the code wouldn't exist in the book. So here's an example. The questioner was asking for some examples. So if you turned in your CPT manual to 49000, that's the exploratory laparotomy code, and it says exploratory ciliotomy with or without biopsies, and then it says separate procedure in parentheses. And you might stop and go, what is that? That's all it is. It's just a heads up. Exploratory laparotomy is when you open up, the abdomen. If you're going to go in and work on, repair any organ in there, or remove something like a ovary, oophorectomy, then that path to get there is included. It's always bundled in, surgery guidelines. The path to get there is bundled. So that's why it says that. But could you just do an exploratory lap and go look around and check things out and then close the patient up and not do anything more extensive than that? Absolutely. That's why they call it an exploratory lap. So that can be reported on its own. Okay. So I just tell my students just to think of separate procedure as a heads up. Now, does that mean every single code in the CPT manual that is part of another code has the phrase separate procedure? No. I'm not really sure what the algorithm or the reasoning is for which codes get that little parenthetical note, separate procedure. But there's many, many, many codes that are bundled into each other that it just becomes a little prohibitive to do that. So for exam purposes, you don't really need to do anything different. Just use it as a reminder to make sure that it isn't bundled. Now, that being said, you're probably thinking, well, I don't have these CCI edits on the exam. You don't. So they're not going to use examples where you couldn't figure that out. They're going to use real clear examples like what I just said, doing a laparotomy and removing something. You can't code both the laparotomy and the removal. You can only code the removal code, okay? That's just more of a general guideline, almost common sense kind of understanding of it. Now, I wanted to show you what it looks like in Find a Code using their CCI checker. This is the CCI edit checker is part of the professional level. So if you're considering club membership and you feel like you'd use this a lot, then I'd choose the plan that includes the professional level of Find a Code. So I popped these two codes in, 49000 and 58940, and this is the results that it gives. Let's see if I can make that a little bigger. Okay. And what's nice is it'll let you know the CPT description of both. So 4900, that's exploratory lap, and here's the 58940. I just grabbed the new phorectomy code. And so it's saying that the 58940 is okay, but there's an error for the 49000. And when you read it, it says there's an edit that exists with the other code, the 59840. Now you could put in 2, 3, 4 codes in here, and that's why it's, you know, mentioning which code it bumped up against. Then it goes on to say 49000 is a column 2 code, and if you did try and report both, then only the 58940 would be paid. Okay, so that's how you would use that. Here's another example. I just kind of went in and tried to find something that said, you know, separate procedure, which there was tons of them. So I saw this one, 66500 in the I section, iridotomy by stab incision. Ouch, that sounds very painful. Except transfixion. And then I saw that this code was bundled into it, so I just grabbed it, removal of lens material, and I popped those two into the edit checker, and it said that the 66852, the removal of lens material, was okay, but the iridotomy, the one that said separate procedure, there was a warning. The reason the first one said error and this one says warning is because it says edit exists, but if both are submitted, only the 66852 will be paid. But if you look right below it, it says this edit can be overwritten via CCI associated modifiers, normally 59. So there might be some circumstance where maybe it was done on separate eyes, a separate time of day, something made it not done at that exact same operative session on that same anatomical area, okay? So that's how you would use that. So I wanted to show you a little bit how to do this with Find a Code. So let me pull this out over here. I'm going to try and do a little side-by-side action here. And the way to get to this is you go to Tools, and it's the NCCI Validator. And it's as simple as, and see it, remember the last two codes I used. You just pop them in here, and you just type them so that they're all stacked on top of each other, as many as you want. So let me pop those back in. And then you just click the word validate. And it'll look it up, and it'll give it to you this way. And what's really nice is you can click on the codes if you want to go, you know, dive into them and look at them a little bit closer. Another way to do it, I'm going to go click on this code. If you happen to be, oops. Oh, I think someone's got my mouse. I was trying to let Joanne have the mouse earlier because she said it was bugging her, maybe in Vanna White here. All right, so this is their main code screen in Find a Code. So if you want to say, I wonder if this code is bundled into something else, or if there's anything else bundled into it. So what you're going to do is you're going to come here, and you're going to go down to right here, NCCI Edits. You expand it by clicking the plus sign. You just decide, are you looking at this for the facility side or the non-facility side? We're going to do non-facility. And then here you go. This is what the CCI edits look like, column 1 and column 2. So 58940 is a column 1 code for the following code pairs. So if this code was reported with any of these other codes, then only this code's going to get paid. Then on the flip side, if you want to know what this code is a part of, then here's the list here. So it kind of goes both ways. Sometimes, you know, that you're bundled into something else, and sometimes something else is bundled into you. Is pretty much how it works. All right. So I just took Joanne's mouse control away if you're trying to use your mouse, Joanne. Sorry. All right. Let me see if we got any questions related to this.
A couple people asked about tubal ligations and along with C-section.
Tubal ligations along with C-section. So I'd need the codes, and I would pop it into the tool and see what they said.
We can do it at the end. We can do it at the end if you like.
Okay, yeah.
I'll
if they
pull
want
the
to give
codes.
us, yeah, if they want to give us some codes, we can go do that. Yeah, probably I would say they're probably going to bundle it, I would think.
I would think so too.
But sometimes I'm surprised, and when I think something's bundled and I go check it, it's like, oh, I guess they consider that significant enough that it warranted its own, you know, payment. All right, let's see what we have next on the agenda. I think that was the last of our prepared Q&A. We're doing good, 9:23. So in about 7 minutes, we'll be giving out the CEU information. I did want to let you know that we have a compliance course that's going to be being released very soon. For those of you that have been with us for a while, you know that our procedure, if you will, when we release a new course, is we give the deepest discount to those that are on the waiting list, on the notification list. And then we give the next notification with a little lesser discount to our newsletter list, our members that way. So your very best place to find out about it and get the deepest discount, if you're at all interested, is to join our list here. And okay, stop doing that. That's annoying. There it is. PCO notification list. And we're using that designation for a course for professional compliance officer. So CCO.us, PCO-notification-list. And maybe someone could put that in the chat for me, because every time I try and grab it, I keep messing up. All right, so CCO.us/PCO notification list. Is anyone in this group thinking of becoming a compliance officer or sitting for that exam? That's one that Skylar definitely excels at. He loves compliance stuff. All right. This next slide is to let you know how can you get some of these questions answered that we've been doing. Just go to cco.us/topic request, and I'll actually show you how to do it live. If you just go to cco.us, we've got our menu on the top that says Contact CCO. These are all the different ways to basically request things from us. It kicks off some automated processes. That's why we have different ways. So it's always best when you want to reach us, if you come here and you fill out one of these forms, you're going to get the right person in the most efficient way to respond back to you. So here is the topic request one, the fourth one down. So you just click on that, and it kind of lets you know some of the different venues that we answer questions at. So you can let us know which one you would prefer. We might decide it's better in a different one, but because you asked the question, normally when we answer it, we will let you know, hey, we just answered that, and here's the video clip and that sort of thing. So just give us your name, your email, and if you're a CCO member or not, because we give, you know, preferential treatment to our club members, the subject, just like an email, and then the body, you know, what's your question. And this is where you can give us an idea of which venue you'd like to see it answered on. If you're unsure, just pick the first one. Unsure or to be determined, let us pick. And then that goes into our system, and it gets processed and vetted and reworded a little bit sometimes. We find a subject matter expert, and then you get it presented to you like you saw the topics here tonight. So this is the fuel for our tank. So fire away, give us your questions. I will let you know, this isn't like, oh, I posted a question, it's 24 hours, I haven't heard. It's not like that. we take time to research our questions, and we look at the popularity of things. So, so be patient, and we will definitely get to your question. All right, let's see what we have next. Oh, we also have case study submission. I had mentioned that before. So you could, if you have a case, a full op report or an E&M note or something that you're like, wow, this is a real head scratcher, or it could be a basic one that you want to see, how does a CCO subject matter expert attack a chart question like this? You know, where do they go look first? What's the next thing they do? Because a lot of times when you're learning coding, you start with little short sentences. You know, you got to start somewhere. Code, you know, strep throat. Okay, go to the index and go here, and then you start putting that in context of a document, of a chart note or an op report. And you know, sometimes there's a lot of fluff in there you don't need, and it's nice to see an expert show you how they weed through all the fluff and get down to the nitty gritty of what you need. So that's our case study submission. Again, you go to that Contact CCO menu item and you click on CCO case submission, and there's a way for you to do an attachment. Now, of course, it goes without saying, make sure it's redacted, that there's no identifying information on it, patient, physician, hospital, anything. A lot of people use their own charts from something that affected them, a hospitalization. You know, my son just had a appendix removal. Sorry, getting old. And you know, so I'm going to write and ask for his records and be able to use that as a case. So you can do that. All right, now we are at the 9:28 mark. This is where we want to announce our winner, and I have to pull my name. There we go. All right. Oh, this is a tough one. Jessie Herrera, Jescy is how the name is spelled, Herrera. So Jessie, am I saying that right, Jessie? That's, you're the winner. So basically all you need to do is go open up a help desk ticket, cco.us/helpdesk, and let them know what you would like for your prize. It could be one of our Blitz video packages, 2 of our webinars, a year of the club, which actually we should just take the 2 CEU webinars off, because why would you pick that when you can have the club and have over almost 100 items in there? Or a 1-hour session with me, Alicia, or any of the other subject matter experts. So congratulations. All right, and now we are going to talk about the CEUs, and then we'll move on to answering the open chat questions that came in tonight. So if you want tonight's CEU, you're going to go to cco.us/CEU, and once you pay for it or you join the club, you're going to get a link to take the quiz. It's just a 1-question true-false quiz I attended, and I listened attentively and learned so much, just true or false. And then it's going to ask you for a password. This is the password, myasthenia. Yeah, we didn't pick it. We have a nurse helping us with these CEU things, so she gets tricky on us. But it's all lowercase, MYASTHENIA. And Boyd put it in the chat. Did someone have something to say? I heard someone come on the line.
It was me. I was going to say, if you don't know what that is, it gives you a reason to look it up.
There you go. All right. And we had to look it up, some of us, so that's how you learn. And I used to know and I forgot, so I refreshed my memory. So at any rate, so hopefully you now can rush off and go get your CEUs for those that need it. And by the way, if you are not certified yet, don't worry about CEUs. That's something you'll worry about later. You don't need to save them for tonight, because they don't let you use CEUs from prior to your exam date, okay? So it's not like, oh, let me save up all these CEUs, so once I get certified, I can use them to maintain it. Nope, don't. They look at the dates. It's got to be a date after your certification date. All right, so basically, if you want to become a club member, which we hope you do, you'll click the blue button. If you already are, thank you. Click the gold button on the left-hand side. If you just want the CEU for tonight, click the $5 one-time purchase. Okay? All right. And this is what it's going to look like. Make sure that the way you type your name in when you get to the point for the certificate is how you want it to show up on the certificate. And with our current system, you're allowed to print it, download it, and it'll be emailed to you. So you get it all sorts of different ways. And you can go pop that index number in over at aapc.com. But keep your certificate in case you get audited by the AAPC. All right, now we're going to turn our attention to the questions that have been coming in the chat. I know Alicia and Sylvia and Lori have been answering quite a few of them. And hopefully Joanne will turn her camera on and join us and help. And we'll do that.
And Laureen, will you tell them real quick while that's coming up about our internship program?
Oh, yeah, very good. So we do have a CCO internship program where a lot of people, number one, they just want to keep learning. You know, you can come join us. All we ask is that you're already certified. It's not for people who aren't certified yet. But once you get any coding credential and you want to intern with us, we have a whole program for it, a whole process. Again, go to that contact CCO and join us. And we'll do a little interview with you. We'll let you know a little bit more about it. A lot of it has to do with doing coding research. We teach you how to do that. We give you tools to be able to do that. And you pull the information, and you might review transcripts from webinars like this, help write CEU questions. A lot of our interns are helping with the PEARLs, which are our disease process, huge, everything you wanted to know about that disease process and coding in one. And Alicia has been doing presentations on all that information that they pulled together. So lots of fun stuff. And being able to be together, you get a letter of recommendation from us when you're done with your little time with us. And if you like it, you can, you know, extend and do it for another term. A term is normally lasts about 6 months. If you want to, you know, make it a whole year, we don't mind. And there's lots of work to go around. And there's some other things involved that we'd like to talk about more on a one-on-one basis. So I think I hit the highlights. And Alicia's now the supervisor, so that's why she wanted me to mention it. she's managing that, and they love it because she's very she's doing a lot of the reviews, and she's seeing their work anyways and giving them feedback, so it made sense. All right, thank you. All right, so let me move this down before Boyd asked me to do it anyways. Okay, so the first question that came in the chat, CPT 98960, does the halftime rule apply to that code? I don't have to go look that code up. Let me see.
I want to say no. I looked it up when I saw it, and I didn't see any indications on Find a Code or Supercoder, and I looked in the CPT manual, but that doesn't mean, maybe if you look it up, you'll you might see.
So this is education and training for patient self-management. Okay, so I don't know what they mean by the halftime rule.
Well, sometimes some of the CPT codes that say 30 minutes, that as long as you see the patient, say 15 or 16 minutes, depending on the code, you can bill for that, but nowhere for this code. In fact, a lot of insurances like Medicare, they don't even acknowledge this code for payment,
right,
and stuff. So I did not see anything. And I went to Find a Code, Supercoder, and I looked in the CPT manual, and I didn't see any notices saying that.
Okay.
And usually it will indicate.
Yeah, so I would say you would need another full 30 minutes to be able to report that. I mean, some people have tried what you have to understand with time-based codes in CPT, there's different committees working on different sections of CPT. So one committee, they like to use that up to including language. I love that. That's very clear. You know where you stand. But other committees, they just kind of do it like this because probably when they were thinking of it, they're like, no one would ever need to go to, you know, for a full hour. So you're probably only ever going to use one unit of this code.
Right.
But hey, there's exceptions, and that's why we use modifiers. And if they deny it, you can appeal it and all sorts of things. But out of the box, I don't think this is a code that you would see going over 30 minutes very much. You know, and you could get creative and try and use prolonged services, you know, things like that. But this one, the way to, what Joanne's saying, to teach you how to fish is you would use a tool like Find a Code, and you'd come in and, like here, we're subscribers to the CPT Assistant on this. There's some Decision Health articles. There's AHA coding clinics. So she checked these. There was no indication on that. It was about other things. Right. So that's how you would kind of do it. And that's really what we do when we research your questions. We go and we use all the tools at our disposal. We synthesize all the information and we present it to you, we hope, in a way that's more easily understood. So, so I would say no to that one. That would be our educated yes.
Okay.
All right, next one. What is the difference between the general surgery and the ambulatory surgery credentials? I'm thinking credentials like CPC, but I think they mean something else.
There's specialty credentials for the ABCs. There's but it has a lot. If you go to the ABC website and you look at it, it'll tell you that you know, it's outpatient surgery, and so the modifiers are different and everything. It's going to have a lot of the COC content, whereas general surgery is inpatient. And wouldn't you agree, Joanne, inpatient? And so it specializes in things like heart transplants, kidney transplants.
I took that exam years ago with the AAPC, and it was all basically general surgery, appendectomy, hernia repair. It was just all these type of questions relating to that. And I had got my credential in that. And I was assuming that the ambulatory surgery was the COC. Am I right with that? But I didn't want to say in case I was wrong about the but I remember getting that credential for general surgery.
I think the ambulatory surgery, I think there is a credential now just for that.
Just for that,
even though the COCs, that's what it is, right? I could be wrong. I'll go look real quick.
Yeah.
While you guys are doing that, I'll go look.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I think this is a Joanne one. Is 96401 or 96372 appropriate for Prolia injections for commercial carriers? Should I look
963, I already looked this up, and I actually went on to the Prolia website, and they had said that it's up to the provider to check with their commercial carriers to see what's the appropriate injection code. The one that they recommended on their site is 96372, which is the subcutaneous or intramuscular injection, therapeutic, diagnostic, prophylactic. And that's the one they recommended, but they also added that you should check with your individual payers to see if they require a different type of a code. But the Prolia website said 96372.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got an answer for the other one.
This one?
Yeah, the ambulatory surgery, it is the CASCC.
Wow.
So there is an ambulatory surgery credential now. And so you can just go to the AAPC and get that. And it says it's types of surgery that are allowed to be performed as an ASC. So there's a difference between, and then the COC is going to be all outpatient facility work, right? Which is predominantly, you know, scopes and things like that.
All right, very good. Thanks. Quick work.
Well, I had it up on the iPad.
All right. Plantar fasciotomy. Whoa. The surgeon performed plantar fasciotomy with ultrasound guidance. We came up with the code 28008 for the surgical part. Do we need to bill for ultrasound guidance separately, or will it be included in the 28008? If ultrasound guidance can be billed, what would be the code for it? I cannot find anything specific for guidance for such procedures. Let me look at this.
Trying to see the exact wording.
It's just fasciotomy, foot and or toe. And you can take a quick peek by clicking on the NCCI edits and seeing what is bundled in or not. And she wanted to know specifically ultrasound, so that's going to be a code that starts with an 8. Oh, maybe in the medicine section?
Oh, I thought it was 7s, but maybe it is 8s.
Oh, no. I'm thinking Path and Lab. You're right, 7s. Let's see. So I don't see any there unless there's ultrasounds in the medicine section. So I would, but we need a specific code to pop it into the CCI edit. Let's see, ultrasound guidance for plantar fasciitis. I think I spelled that wrong. Let me go back and look at the code, because sometimes I'll have a helpful hint, and I looked at it really quick. An incision is made over the plantar aspect of the foot. The fascia is exposed. I think that's when we'd have to probably take some time and do some looking. Nothing stands out.
No, I'm looking in the manual while you're looking online, and I don't see anything.
There's nothing on the coding tip, right? In the pink.
It's more about medical necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these ones, you know, that are kind of, we got to go dig and do a little research. Those are best to use that form for asking us. Now we'll go ahead and copy and paste this one for you, but any questions like this, put them up in the contact us and topic request form, and then we can spend some time really researching it and presenting it nicely to you.
Wendy said 76942. We can put that as a note there, so we can use it for our research. 76942. I don't know what code that is, but make a note.
Ultrasonic guidance for needle placement.
Biopsy, aspiration, injection, localization device.
Then it says do not report in conjunction with,
but that code's not mentioned.
Not in that list.
Nope.
All
that
right,
might be the answer.
Let's just try the CCI edit real quick. All right, so those two don't look like they hit any edits. So I guess
That's
it would
a good
just,
sign.
Yeah, it would just be, you know, does that constitute localization device? Possibly. I'd like to see the report to see how they were describing the use of it. So whoever asked that question, if you would go fill out our topic request form and include any additional information, then we can research this. But thanks for sharing that code.
A real case encounter would be awesome, because then we could teach on it.
Yeah,
redacted, of course.
Laid out exactly how you're looking at it. Okay, next question regarding enrolling in EDI. Novitas is requiring my provider to re-enroll in EDI due to the new MDC numbers. Has anyone else's practice started this process?
I happen to know that at Paycom, several of them have already started, they said, the practice managers.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, out of about 40 people, there were like 6.
Okay, there you go. Fresh info. All right, BAT notes. When doing the BAT in the code books, for those of us that write big, how do we fit it in?
Write small.
Yeah, but I know it's a challenge. I'm a big writer too, and you have to learn how to be as concise as possible. They do make very fine tip, and Chandra was a big fan of the gel, the very skinny ones. So that's the best thing to do. Be as concise as you can. And for those that don't know, the BAT is the bubble, highlight, annotate technique that CCO is known for. Basically, we've taught our students that since 1999, how to kind of bubble and highlight your CPT manual, and there's even ways to do it in your other manuals, but CPT was the main way it got started. And it's just a way to draw your eye visually to groups of codes and highlight keywords and write a keyword. So, and you don't have to write it the way we do. If you happen to be in our class and you see I say it a certain way, you could reword it, whatever makes sense to you, so that when you're taking the exam, you're triggered to remember that guideline. Okay.
Another tip, sometimes if you write it in a notebook first, just write how you want to put it before you put it in the book.
To judge the size.
Yeah, play with it a little bit, and say, okay, I don't need all that. Or.
One day, everything will be all online. I can't wait. But there's something about seeing the manuals paper-wise and how everything is laid out in context, so that when you do go to use an encoder like Find a Code, you get how it's placed in context, and you know that there's surrounding guidelines and how to get to it. But if you started with just an encoder, you wouldn't be as good a coder, in my opinion, unless you trained on a paper manual.
Right. It's like learning how to add and subtract before you depend on a calculator. This was, yeah.
Yeah, come tell my kids that.
I know this answer. Yes, you can bill separately. Definitely bill separately.
All right.
Yeah, basically, and I looked it up on Find a Code, but I already knew the answer because I've just coded that not too long ago, where you would bill the C-section first, and the RVUs are like 70.15, and then the tubal ligation is 58600, and that RVU is 1099, and that's with the correct coding initiative. But I just didn't.
So it'll be reduced.
I looked up the RVUs, but I knew that you could bill the C-section with the tubal ligation separate, and then no problem.
Very good. See, very good. All right, and so of course, the way that they're going to reduce the secondary procedure. So obviously, put the most expensive one first, not necessarily the one you did first.
Right.
All right, very good. So this slide, we just want to remind you, if you are involved with a chapter, whether it's Paycom, AAPC, whatever, and you would like for us to be a presenter, we can do it remotely. We don't have to travel there. Sometimes we do travel, depends on your budget, but we do it for free. So we've got a whole stable of topics that we can present if your chapter is interested. Again, go to cco.us and go to that Contact Us page, and there's a remote presentation request form, and we'd be happy to do that for you. And of course, if you appreciated the content that you received tonight, please share on your favorite social media on Facebook. Our address is facebook.com/cco.us. And Lori Woods is our ambassador for that keeps our Facebook pages and groups humming. We've got lots of different groups for different areas of coding and billing, so check that out. And she's likely the one that will get you approved. Come join our club. We've got to change this, over 92 pretty soon. I can't wait to say over 100. Alicia raised her hand.
Jesus said there was 95 when he checked a few minutes ago.
95. Okay. So and so this is from last month, guys. So you can see how fast and furious we're adding content to the club. So come be a part of it. The minute you join, you get access to everything. We don't hold back anything. And then we have a little survey here. We'll put that in the chat to let us know what you thought about tonight's webinar. That helps to get better and better each time. And I think that's a wrap, ladies. 8 minutes of the hour. Here's some of the links that we shared tonight. I'll pop that in as well. And I know Boyd will leave this up for a few minutes so that, Boyd, what's the trick again if they wanted to save the chat for some of the links we shared? All right, so in your go to webinar file menu, there's a way to save the chat. But so from me, thank you everyone for attending. We hope to see you next month. We know we're coming on the holidays, so the schedule's a little different. We normally do the second to last Thursday, but this month we're a week behind because we were at a conference, and therefore our next webinar is in 3 weeks. So, and if I know Jesus, he probably already has the registration page already ready, but we look forward to seeing new questions come in. Happy learning. Thanks, Joanne, Alicia, Lori, Sylvia, Boyd, Jesus, everyone behind the scenes. And everyone get well, stay well.
Yeah.
Avoid those germs.
Good night.